All right, the Detroit Lions just made a couple of odd moves that actually make a lot of sense if you look twice. First, they added Ross Dwelley and Malik Cunningham. And before we jump into the Bears game, because oh man, there's so much to love there, tell me this in the comments. What was your favorite moment from that 52-21 demolition? Was it Amon Reese St. Brown cooking their secondary with 3 touchdowns like he owned the place? Jared Goff looking surgical and basically flirting with a perfect passer rating? Yamo streaking deep and ripping out their hearts on a 44-yard bomb? The two-headed monster of Gibbs and Montgomery setting the tone? Or the branch punch-out on D'Andre Swift that felt like the universe has a sense of humor? Drop your favorite play below, smash like, and subscribe if you bleed. Honolulu Blue, because these are the kinds of weeks that remind you why you fell in love with this team in the first place. Now, back to those odd moves. Malik Cunningham to the practice squad looks like a chess move with a neon sign. Lamar Week, dual threat quarterback, Louisville Alum, real acceleration when he gets the edge. And yes, wide receiver quarterback flexibility gives you more looks for the scout team. He spent time with the Patriots and Ravens, so he knows the DNA we're about to see in Baltimore. The mesh, the QB keepers, the stress it puts on your edges, and second level. He's not Lamar, nobody is, but he's mobile enough to force your defense to play honest in practice, which matters when your next test is the best space creator at the position. Ross Dwelley? Sneaky addition. 7-year vet, 100+ games. Lived in a tight end room that asked for versatility line up in line. Flex, sift through traffic, be available on the scramble drill. You're not asking him to be TE1. You're asking him to be grown-up depth with a high floor. And the corresponding moves tell the story of intent. Shane Zylstra to IR, Monty Rice out. Tristan Colon up to the 53. That last one is big for the real head's backup center depth behind. Graham Glasgow is not a luxury when you're trying to survive a 17-game war. If you've been pacing about who handles protection calls and the QB center exchange if anything happens in the interior, this is the kind of Saturday paper line that matters on Monday night. The broader point, this staff keeps treating edges of the roster like a living organism. If the next opponent stresses X, they add Y to rehearse the pain all week. Which brings us back to the most glorious pain we just inflicted. Ben Johnson came back to Ford, Field wearing the wrong shade of blue, and our guys hung a 50-burger on him. Goff went 23 of 28 for 334 and 5 touchdowns, with a near-perfect 156.0 rating, calm feet, fast eyes, ruthless distribution. Amon-Ra played like someone rewrote the laws of leverage. 9 for 115 and a hat trick, finding soft spots, then turning routine throws into back-breaking YAC Jameson Williams. 2 grabs, 108 and a kill shot. He doesn't need volume. He needs oxygen and a misstep. Gibbs' burst and Montgomery's ballast were synchronized. When one gashed, the other finished. And then there's the defense branch knifing downhill. Hutch squeezing rush lanes. The whole unit playing with the quiet cruelty of a veteran team that knows exactly where you're fragile. You want a stat that tastes like espresso? Detroit has been the league's best bounce-back team for years now. Even when a week goes sideways, they don't stack losses. You feel that in how the offense answers after a punt, how special teams handshake with the defense to flip field position, how Dan Campbell makes respond feel like a core identity, not a slogan. And yes, there's a delicious symmetry in beating the coach who helped install our ethos. Because what if the secret sauce was never one chef? What if this is culture plus quarterback plus line play plus continuity? And what if that travels? Here's the part that sticks to the ribs. The 52 wasn't a fluke explosion of broken plays. It was structural. Formations that stress rules. Motions that force a defense to show its hand. Second and manageable, that keeps the play sheet wide open. When your QB is throwing on time and your receivers are winning the leverage game, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep stacking smart, repeatable advantages. That's what made this so satisfying. And it's also why the Cunningham, Dwelley Colon moves aren't random, they slot into a week-to-week plan to keep those edges clean. Speaking of edges, this is where Baltimore tests your angles and your tackling hubris. Lamar turns bad geometry into points. So your ends have to squeeze without overcommitting, your nickels have to tackle in space, and your backers have to flow like they know the answer key. Cunningham's legs in practice help you rehearse the panic, so it doesn't feel like panic on Monday. Offensively, you're looking at conflict plays and tempo levers. Make their linebackers wrong, punish their safeties for cheating downhill, and keep the run-pass tails muddy. If their interior is dinged, that's where Frank Raniel's absence would have really hurt, except Glasgow has steadied the ship at center like a veteran who's done this dance. And Cohen's presence on the 53 means you're insulating the most delicate point of the offense. This is self-awareness on a roster level. Meanwhile, back to that Bears game because I want to savor it a second time like the last bite of a perfect burger. 2 touchdowns a quarter is the kind of ridiculous pace that makes the scoreboard look like a college noon kickoff. But in the NFL, it's an identity statement. And for all the discourse about how Ben Johnson's exit would clip Detroit's wings, what did we just see? We saw collaboration. We saw a QBWR trust network that survives coaching turnover. We saw a C who can set the table. We saw a play caller who understands what his players are great at and hammers that button. If you're in Chicago right now, you're asking scary questions about whether you hired a genius or just borrowed an offense that was humming because the pieces and the culture. That's not shade. That's what the tape says. And look, I'll always be honest with you. I don't need overreactions about the division in September. Minnesota? J.J. McCarthy gave them one torrid quarter to steal week 1, and then reality snapped back in week 2. Green Bay will trade punches. But if Detroit controls the middle of the field on offense and plays top-down on defense, this is the most grown-up team in the NFC North and has been for a while. That's why the little roster notes matter. A veteran tight end who can be where he's supposed to be on third and medium. That keeps the machine on schedule. A mobile look in practice all week so your spy and your edges don't get surprised. That prevents the 4-play avalanche that Lamar can create. An extra center-capable body on the 53? That's insurance on your quarterback's heartbeat. None of this is glamorous. All of it is how contenders behave. So yes, like and subscribe because this staff is treating September like a laboratory for January. My personal take, after watching that Bears game twice and reading the tea leaves on the transactions, I love the intent. I love that they're solving tomorrow's problem on a Sunday night before we even wake up mad about a practice squad cut. And I think this team just announced again that the offense is scheme-proof, coach-proof, and ready for the biggest stages as long as the pocket is clean and the stars are healthy. Your turn. What's your temperature on the Cunningham look team this week? And which under-the-radar role player is going to swing Ravens lines on Monday night? I'll go first. Give me a timely Laporta red zone option route and a brand splash play near the sideline. You up for that? Hit the comments and let's argue like family.